Horror Kiwi contains spoilers and may include discussion or mention of potentially disturbing subjects. But don't let that deter you. Now, with that out of the way, let's get started, shall we? After you.
Hello and welcome to the first episode of Horror Kiwi, Pod Kiwi's October special horror podcast thing. This year there will be 4 episodes, and I also plan on getting the last 2 from last year that didn't make it out up before the end of the month. So I guess 6 episodes, I guess you could say. The format is changed a little bit. Last year, we watched a movie every business day, so that's 5 movies a week. This year, we're doing 2 movies a week, and it is a guest-chosen double feature. So it will be 8 movies that we're talking about this year. This week, we have the co-host from last year as a guest, Rudy Sanchez.
Hello there.
What movies did you pick for us to watch, Rudy?
I picked 2 very personal favorites of mine from the last few years. I picked Takeshi Miike's Ichi the Killer and Ben Wheatley's Kill List from 2011. Ichi the Killer was from 2001, and these are movies that for me changed my perspective on horror films, and truly in the case of Kill List, really scared the crap out of me in a way that not any movie in the last few years, has not. It's just, I found it just completely awesome and crazy and just what I was looking for in horror films. And it's after I've been jaded for quite a while because I grew up a huge horror hound, and Kill List was something when I watched it, I felt like I was watching something completely new.
Okay, cool.
And I guess same goes for Ichi the Killer. Yeah.
I have thoughts about both of them, so
we'll get to those thoughts. I'm very excited to hear your thoughts on those, Mike.
So let's see. Let's talk about the pair kind of right now. What made you choose these 2 movies? Did you think they'd go together as a double feature? What was your thought processes?
I think my thought process on these were that they're both pretty I think difficult, and they're kind of like a test for a person to watch.
Difficult's a good word.
Yeah. Yeah. They're kind of Kill List is way more of a character piece. I mean, you could say both are character pieces in that
their own ways.
Both, yeah, and they're both, I thought, completely unconventional in terms of what they're aiming for, being that cross between thrillers and being horror movies, and that both kind of on the surface, you give somebody the surface premise, like Ichi the Killer is a Yakuza movie or something like that, and Kill List, it's a movie about hitmen, and it does something completely different within its kind of chosen genre, whether it's trying to comment on it or really blend and mix those genres in a way that I haven't seen before. And that's why I think that's probably why I chose them, besides being completely 2 of my personal favorites that I feel like a lot of people haven't seen, and they're the movies that, given the choice, I would show to people. And this is a test for folks, so going you need to see this movie, and that's why that's what I feel about both of them.
Okay. It should probably be noted before we start talking about them that, especially in the case of Ichi the Killer, there is some stuff that people might find upsetting. So I will timestamp when we talk about both movies, and maybe give a brief warning, I guess, as to what's in them, just in case people aren't comfortable with that.
Yeah, I guess, because talking about the pairing.
Especially Ichi the Killer.
Yeah, they're both really disturbing, right? They're just really just unsettling and disturbing, and I guess that's what I like showing people is just completely unsettling, disturbing movies.
Yeah, I mean, that comes with the territory some in horror, but
Yeah.
in different ways, these went above and beyond what you would expect from the genre, perhaps. So first, before we talk about those, is there anything else you've been watching lately that's relevant to the podcast, I guess, is a way to put it?
I think that it's been a pretty good year for horror stuff. Well, it's been kind of hard to track down some of the good horror stuff that's come out. But earlier this year, I really really liked The Witch. I thought it was fantastic. I got to see it in the theater. I think it came out March of this year, and then it came out on DVD, Blu-ray, digital, like just a few months afterwards. And I thought to me it's this year's It Follows, which I know does nothing for you.
Oh, that's
but
not selling that.
I hope it sells.
Unless you're saying the soundtrack's fantastic.
The score is really good. It's not a synthesized score, but I think The Witch is honestly, it's super Halloween, super October appropriate because it feels like it's the best witch movie since Hocus Pocus, but legitimately horrific instead of a family horror comedy.
Okay.
It makes witches scary again. It also makes you completely terrified of goats.
Well, why wouldn't you already be terrified of goats? They can scream like a people.
They do scream like a people. That's correct. They are truly, yeah. It just adds to that. It adds to the completely. I don't want to be around this goat right now.
Yeah. Also, their eyes are gross. I don't like goat and sheep eyes. That weird pill-shaped pupil.
What makes The Witch great was that it was kind of like a art horror film that got snuck into the theater, kind of like It Follows, where it completely messed with people's expectations of it. Again, this is one where I truly advise not watching the trailer before watching the movie. I always advise going in blind. That way you're completely sort of taken in and surprised by what you're about to see. Because I think trailers not only give away too much, but they give a certain expectation that I don't think, they sell a movie a certain way in a way that was completely unintended. And so you go in with a completely different expectation. And I think that's also what happened if you see some of the audience reviews of The Witch.
Okay. I'll have to look into that one. I think you told me about that back in March and I just didn't. Because I tend not to watch horror stuff before October.
Did you end up watching Crimson Peak?
No, I didn't. I had the Crimson Peak beer at Alamo Draft House, but I did not watch the movie.
How was the beer?
It's fine. I think it had hibiscus in it, so it tasted like hibiscus juice, which is good. But I didn't watch the movie. It's very red beer. It looked like cranberry juice.
Yeah. Oh.
It neat.
That does sound delicious. Yeah, but it pains me to say this, but I feel like you're not missing much with Crimson Peak.
I've seen people say that it's like great, and like my friend's big Guillermo fan, and he's not enthused by it. So don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's definitely a gothic romance. I just don't think it's a very successful gothic romance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But speaking of, I guess it's not related at all, but I saw Blair Witch a couple weeks ago. Last week?
Not related to Crimson Peak, but related to The Witch. Talk about witches. We're on witches right now.
Yeah. Again, I also saw that at the Alamo Draft House.
Oh, awesome.
Which is always a good time. And I think I saw it in the basically perfect atmosphere to watch that movie. It was in a theater, so you get the full bombast of being in the theater, but there are only like 4 other people in there, so you're still kind of isolated.
What day did you go see it? Why is there 4 people in the theater?
think we saw it on a Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a work night.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole draft house was empty. It was weird. But I liked it a lot. It's not going to blow your mind or anything. Beyond the very surface levels of it being a sequel to the original, it's more or less a remake instead, with more modern contrivances, kind of.
Okay.
Like they have a camera drone, and they do some stuff with that. And they have GPS and all the stuff they couldn't have had in the original because it didn't exist yet. And they basically show how that would have worked now. And I'll give you a hint, it didn't work for them very well at all.
Yeah, I haven't watched it again. I'm deliberately staying away from the trailers for it, so I'm just kind of eagerly anticipating to watch it. Hopefully, if it's still in the theaters soon. Have you seen Adam Wingard's other films? Who is the director of this?
I saw
Blair
You're
Witch?
Next, and he did one of the VHS shorts, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw those. They're fine. Actually, I liked You're Next quite a bit. I know you don't care for it, but...
No, I did not. Yeah, I was oversold on it. I was overhyped on it.
I think it's a fun movie, I think. It's a good twist on the home invader genre.
That's tough because it feels like it came out like 6 years
after those
too
were
late. Like,
in vogue.
Yeah. Then again, there was The Purge, which came out in 2013. Which
I haven't
is
seen any
around
of
the same
those
time.
movies. I heard those got better as the series went on. I've heard people say.
I can only vouch for the first two, and I can say that is true for the second film. The second film, The Purge Anarchy, is leagues better than the first one.
Okay,
It's super entertaining.
Yeah, Blair Witch was good. It's a way I heard described that I think is very apt is it's the theme park roller coaster retelling of the original. It's more like the first one was a super slow burn. This one is once they get into the forest, it's kind of going nonstop until the end. And the final sequence is fucking edgier seat, white knuckle stuff.
That sounds great. What do you think of its like box office performance? Because it didn't do very well, and I think the audience rating. Yeah, it made it was only made for, I think, for $5 million, so it was super cheap. But it still didn't do all that well for a movie that didn't cost very much.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Well, horror movies never do well in the box office, though. And they don't do well in reviews either, except for horror specialist critics. I probably deserved to at least break even. I liked it quite a bit. I had a good time with it. Like I said, it's nothing new. It's not redefining the Blair Witch or anything. It's not going to revive it. But I think if you like the first movie, you'll like the second one. And Adam Wingard knows how to do a good final sequence, because he's real good in this.
I'll give you that, because I really liked his second film, I guess, if you're not counting the VHS shorts that he did, The Guest. I thought The Guest is absolutely fantastic.
That's another one I think I've been meaning to get to.
Yeah, I would highly recommend it, where he offers a really good third act, and that one's a slow burn, so I'm kind of surprised that with the Blair Witch he didn't take something that's completely known for being a slow burn and just roll with it, because it seems to be kind of his thing a little bit too. I mean, he's no Ty West, which is a huge compliment. Like, he's much better he's much more talented than Ty West is. So yeah, I'm surprised to hear that, but that sounds really solid.
Yeah, I mean,
and I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend it, as long as you don't go in expecting anything more than basically a remake of the first one.
It's a remake of the first one. Okay.
Yeah. When we came out of the theater, Rico said, "That's basically just the first movie again, right?" And I'm like, yeah, it was. It's good. It's
for
fun.
A whole new generation.
Yeah. Okay, let's get to the movies here. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start off with the kill list, because it's probably way more difficult to talk about.
Yeah. So kill list, for things it has that might be upsetting, it has a lot of naked people all at once, which is it's a horror movie. I guess you should expect that. Actually, Kill List doesn't have a lot. It's just sudden violence. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah. If you're disturbed by super sudden outbursts of violence, yeah, and it's not sexy naked people either.
No.
No, not whatsoever.
Uh,
Yeah.
So I didn't take to Kill List so much, but for
Okay.
that, give a brief synopsis, like 2-3 sentences of what this is about.
Okay. Brief synopsis is it is about a hitman kind of slowly losing his shit, or is he? And that would be my synopsis of it.
Okay,
Right? That works.
sure.
Or does that give? Yeah. It's
Yeah, I had a hard time following this movie. I think
what do you mean follow? Like
following the through line of it. It felt like the movie was almost all set up, and
Mhm.
then a thing happened and it was over. It was setting up for basically the last 15 minutes of the movie. I liked the first 45 minutes, but then the setup just kept going, and I thought that felt a little bit long for me.
I think that was just sort of like it's more you're following the main character guy and his sort of like the things around him being very bizarre and slowly kind of building upon his weird life. I mean, he has like an okay life on the surface, right? He's got his wife, he's got his kid. uh his full-time profession as a hitman.
It seemed like at the beginning he was reluctant to get back into being contract killer. Is that what was going on there?
That's probably there, like the suggestion of it, because one of the big through lines of the movie for like a lot of people who I think maybe over examine it, but I mean that's what we're here for, is it's about PTSD.
Okay.
Because it shows, I think in the beginning, that he was he was in a war,
Mhm.
and coming back from that war, he's got, those violent tendencies, and he has trouble adjusting back to normal life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess I should probably ask what it is that you love about this movie.
For me, it's that level of like anxiety and paranoia and just this like dread. I think that's the big word that comes for me with like horror. And what I like out of horror is that sort of like overwhelming, hopeless feeling of dread. And I feel like Kill List has it in spades. I like the movies where basically there's like all this stuff happening around a character and they don't know what's going on, but it's like a giant conspiracy against him.
Mhm.
And he doesn't know why that's happening, and that unknown factor is what's absolutely terrifying. Basically all these things conspiring against you and you don't know why, and that feeling of paranoia and sort of dread because it feels hopeless to stop whatever's coming.
Mhm.
And I think that's what the Kill List has got. It's just sort of like the overwhelming sense that like something horrible is going on in the background, and you're just this like player in it, and everyone's playing this weird thing against you.
Okay. I kind of see where you're going. I felt like maybe that stuff was a bit too spread out for my taste. Because there'd be just stretches of things being normal.
Mhm.
And that tension was still there, but the longer nothing happened, I feel like it faded a little bit. Like when you pull on a rubber band and keep it taut and it starts to loosen up because you're just keeping it taut without releasing. Because right at the beginning, even when they're just doing mundane stuff, the tension was like super high the whole time.
Yeah. Those like slow motion scenes with the sword fight, the play sword fight with his son. Yeah.
And the movie doesn't linger on any shots. It just bang, 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 bang. Just keeps going. Even when there is a weird thing kind of happening, it just kind of nonchalantly keeps going. It treats it like it's a normal thing.
Yeah, like with the God, how much should we do the spoiling and talking about very specific stuff?
I might as well. I'll put a spoiler warning at the beginning.
Okay. The stuff with like the lady, his like house guest, and when she's like writing the symbols all over his like pictures and stuff, and like how that is treated like normal, like it's very, it's not a big thing. It's just like that's what
she does.
Like, yeah, that's what she does. Just like someone in this like weird cult thing. I know most people's comparison of this movie is for the original Wicker Man.
Did
you ever see the?
I haven't seen it, but I know enough about it I was drawing that comparison too.
Yeah, and I think Kill List is a much more, obviously much more extreme and for me accomplished version of the Wicker Man, because it does for me that whole dread thing so well, and the whole sort of like paranoia cult thing, like everything working against our in this case anti-hero for the most part. What do you think of the hammer scene?
The effects for that one I thought was pretty good, but some of the other practical effects I thought were kind of didn't hold up. Like most of the stuff with the hand, I thought that effect didn't look great. That practical piece.
Yeah. It is. I think the budget says it's listed at like $800,000, but I think it has so much style, and like the spareness works for it. I think sort of those like big empty spaces.
Yeah, I mean, the when they cut the hand, you could see the kind of blood pack under there, kind of not bubble up, but kind of inflated a little bit before it leaked out, and I thought that was a bit too Raimi in a kind of grounded movie.
And it is pretty grounded, except for I guess because Raimi is a huge influence on basically everybody, as he should be, because everything he did was awesome. Well, not everything, but
not
Evil
everything.
Dead. For me, I felt like it had one of the most effective jump scares I've ever seen.
Which one?
Which is near the end, when he's watching the sort of ritual from a distance, and they're running through the sewers, and then those people are coming after him, and for some reason that whole sequence absolutely terrified me.
Okay, that didn't do that much for me.
Nothing with the dudes with those wicker masks running around naked screaming.
It was okay. It probably would be better if I was watching it at night. I watched it this afternoon because I slacked off a little bit. That's probably my bad. But
no worries. I think I just like films that really take their time, and for me this one like took its time, but I feel like the payoff was worth it, and sort of really give you a sense of a character's headspace, and I feel like that's what Kill List does.
Yeah, I guess. And it certainly was unclear if he was hallucinating all that stuff or if it was actually happening, because I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question, because I mean I can see how that stuff might not work so well, because that's sort of like the last twisty stuff.
Yeah.
Like it does seem a little the worst case Shyamalan-y, because it's
I mean, it wasn't that bad, but
right, yeah, because it could have been just like, oh, was he crazy the whole time? But I just like that sense of like just no closure, and I think again that's the scary part of stuff is, I mean, when we talked about Blair Witch, and not this Blair Witch, but if we talk about the original Blair Witch, again, that sense of not knowing what's going on, and the sense of unknown forces working against our heroes.
Mm-hmm.
That's what absolutely terrifies me. and again that like just everything completely unresolved at the end. You just feel like I would just watch something deeply upsetting and horrible.
Yeah. And also, to touch back on Blair Witch again real quick, it's probably a concern that a sequel to that might have revealed some of the mystery from the first one. It really didn't. It expanded on some of the stuff, but it didn't really give more explanation to it. So that's a good thing that it did.
Did you ever end up watching the second film?
I did not watch
Book of Shadows.
I did not watch Book of Shadows.
You're missing out on so much. You're missing out on that Blair Witch lore.
Yay! Killist is something I might give a second shot. I think there's stuff there, but I think some of that might depend on the environment you watch it in.
Yeah, I watched it like in the complete dark the first time at night, and yeah,
that's probably a movie that needs the right setting for viewing and right mindset.
Were you at complete unease? You said for like the first 45 minutes you felt that like complete tension and
I felt the
uneasiness.
tension. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's what I get when I look for in horror movies. I guess it's something that makes me feel uneasy and tense the whole time. Something that makes me feel queasy. And again, this is just being kind of like just having watched so many horror movies, and you can always appreciate the good one, and but there's just, when you watch something like that, when you watch something that makes you physically uncomfortable, I think that's where I get a kick out of a horror movie, and I feel like I got that from The Kill List when I watched it.
Okay.
Or Kill List, yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I have not gotten the chance to see this other director's movies. He did do a short for ABCs of Death, and I thought that was pretty cool. He did one where it was entirely in the POV of a vampire who's being hunted, and I thought it was really entertaining.
Okay. I heard those movies aren't great.
No, they're not. I will attest to that. I saw both of them, and there's probably at most 7 good short films in the 2 of them.
Okay, that's 7 out of 26, right?
Would that be?
That's how many letters there are.
50. Yeah, and if you count both films, ABCs of Death and ABCs of Death 2, so that's like 7 out of 52.
Oh, that's really bad. It's a very bad track record.
Those 7 are really good.
Somebody should make a supercut. Those 7.
Yeah. Yeah, those are kind of like an endurance test in the worst way, where I feel like Kill List was an endurance test in the best way.
And Kill List was only 90 minutes, so.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. I've seen much longer.
Yeah.
With zero payoff. Yeah.
But anyways, let's take a break for just a second, and then we will get to Ichi the Killer. Hi, this is Mike. Thanks for listening to the very first episode of 2016's Horror Kiwi podcast. For a little bit of change of pace for how I usually do things, I'm going to do all the social media call-outs and news and stuff right here in the middle of the episode instead of at the very end. Maybe it'll make somebody listen. I don't know. Trying something new. First off, and most important, this year, once again, we are doing an Extra Life marathon. This year, to benefit the UC Davis Children's Hospital. Last year we made a little bit over $1,000. This year we're hoping to double that if possible. But we'll be playing lots of good stuff, and if you donate now, before the marathon on October 29th, starting at 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you will have the opportunity to suggest ingredients to put in the sandwich that my co-host AP will be eating for dinner. So if you want to make a man in the UK very, very unhappy for a night on camera in full view of everyone that tunes in, this is your chance. It'll be, I think it's $5 to suggest one ingredient, and if you suggest more multiples of 5, then you get more chances. So please check that out, donate to that. I'll be having some other polls and stuff where you can help decide what we play, or at least what I play. It'll be a fun time. So yeah, at the very least, donate and help some kids out, because sick kids probably need some help. They can't pay for it themselves because they're kids. Secondly, for this podcast and other ones that are technically movie Kiwis, you can send us your questions and comments and just whatever you want that is not hateful bile garbage to movies@gamekiwi.net. If it's something good or something that we like, we'll read it out on the podcast and talk about it. So please do that. We'd love to hear from you. You can also get with us on other social media stuff. We're on Twitter @TheGameKiwi. You can check our Facebook group. You should be able to search for Game Kiwi or do facebook.com/TheGameKiwi. And also look us up on iTunes. Subscribe to us there. Give us your ratings and reviews. All that stuff will help get other people listening to us and make us more listened to than we are now, which is not a whole lot. And I'd love it to be more, because all the people who do this, not only me, put some good time and work into this thing. So help us make it successful. Lastly, in the course of doing this podcast, I've made some friends with other podcasters, and we've been kind of signal boosting each other. So I'm going to take the opportunity to do that for some now, and I'll do that for each of the rest of these Horror Kiwi ones. So the 3 for today are, if you're looking for another podcast with informed movie discussions, check out The Magic Lantern. Or if you like to listen to two guys from Australia just kind of shooting the shit about whatever, usually nerdy stuff, I think, go check out the Yagaday podcast. Or, lastly, but not leastly, if you want to go listen to a different Mike and Tommy talk about the pressing legal issues of today, go check out their podcast, Court Appointed. You can find all of these by Googling them or checking them out on iTunes. And be sure to subscribe and review and rate them too. It's all really great stuff. They're nice guys. And I turned my Google on in the background. So, yeah. But I think that's it. So, go check all that stuff out. And let's get back to the podcast. We're talking about Ichi the Killer now. Let's go. And we're back. So let's talk about Ichi the Killer. Ichi the Killer does deserve some content warnings. It depicts a lot of rape and violence against women and needle drugs. And is there anything else? A lot of gore, but it's a horror movie. It's a very gory movie, though.
Not for the squeamish at all.
Yeah, it's a Mike movie. I'm just gonna give a general Mike warning. Mike's a gross boy.
Yeah, I believe this is his the film that I think when he was showing it at film festivals, they had a barf bag. So truly the showman.
This movie's banned in a few countries, isn't it?
I believe it is. I'm not sure exactly which countries, but it doesn't surprise me. Yeah, probably Germany, it seems like. I think they do a lot of banning over there.
Could be. I don't think the UK bans stuff anymore. I know they used to, in like the 80s or 90s. But I don't think they do anymore.
Yeah, banned in Germany and banned in Malaysia.
Okay.
And then I wouldn't be surprised if Australia banned it, because don't they have really strict rating things over there?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
So real quick, give a summary of this movie.
Well, Ichi the Killer is Takeshi Miike's masterpiece. This is one way of putting it. It is his film about yakuza and a very disturbed person coming to a head. I think it has every single one of his kinks and themes and interests. It's the ultimate Miike movie, and that's how I would put it. If you wanted to sell it to someone in a general form, it's just like, oh, it's a movie about yakuza. It's a very violent yakuza movie. It's Takeshi Miike's gangster movie. He's made several gangster movies, but this is his ultimate one.
This come before or after Dead or Alive?
This is after Dead or Alive.
Okay, because this feels like the movie Dead or Alive was trying to be.
Yeah, I can see that.
All of this is an adaptation of a comic.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to look at the comic at all?
I did not, but I read the synopsis, and it sounds like this hit more or less all the beats. I like this. I like this. I was going to say I like this more than Dead or Alive, but I just like this movie. It's very hard to watch, though. It is uniquely unpleasant to consume.
It's a horror movie. A horror movie shouldn't be pleasant.
It's uniquely unpleasant, though.
Yeah, it pushes everything so far, like as far as things can go, and as far as like you know, again, as a person in like when I was watching being a horror buff and a gore hound, I thought I had seen it all, and Ichi the Killer came and kicked me in the face, or heel dropped a blade into my forehead, and that's how I felt watching it. Again, it blew my mind when I first watched it when I was young, and I was like, this is the new face of horror and cinema. And I feel like in a way Miike has a hard time living up to this movie. This is from 2001, so it's been quite some time.
Have you made anything else that you think would compare to this? I'm not super well versed on Miike, so I can't really come up with an example.
Yeah, I think even Audition came well before this. Audition came out in 1999, which was about the same year that he made Dead or Alive. I really liked his episode of Masters of Horror, which was called Imprint, and I would say for the thematic and gross out factor, it comes close to Ichi the Killer. I thought it's easily one of the highlights from the first seasons of Masters of Horror, which was a Showtime show back in the mid 2000s. I don't think he's reached the gross highs and lows of Ichi the Killer since then.
Okay, yeah.
I think he's been just trying to do different things since then.
I mean,
in a way.
He definitely does that. He comes out with roughly 90 movies a year.
Did the Phoenix Wright movie.
Which I thought was fine.
Yeah,
I think it's a fun movie.
I think I've tried to watch it like 2-3 times now, and I'm like, oh, I can't. Granted, I haven't played the games, so it's kind of difficult.
I think that's the only way to make a Phoenix Wright movie interesting is to have Miike do it, because he has that kind of high speed, off the wall ness to him.
Yeah.
As I was watching this movie, I kind of realized that Miike is basically a much more prolific Japanese Sam Raimi.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. But I think he's got much heavier themes than Sam Raimi, where Sam Raimi's kind of like, he's like a good exploitative journeyman. He likes putting the things on screen that he likes to watch. Where I feel like with Miike, you could say he's going out a much, much darker path than Sam Raimi. But I see what you mean, because especially since his films are splatter films. They're geyser films.
Yeah. There's a lot of Raimi-esque sequences in this. just blood shooting from necks for minutes at a time. Long, lingering shots. Like the shot where Ichi slices the guy's face off, and you just watch it travel slowly all the way down the wall.
It's so good. It's so crazy. It's so over the top. And I think, there's not that. I don't know. I think it's so ridiculous that it's fun in a way, but it doesn't have that lightheartedness that I think Sam Raimi's got.
That's a good way to put it. Fun's a hard word to prescribe to this movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't call it fun. It is so crazy that you do have to laugh at some of the just like insane stuff that happens in this movie. But I don't think I'd call it fun. But I know I had fun watching it when it's I don't know, it's just so...
It's hard to look away from, but hard to keep watching.
I know at the time that I watched it, though, it just felt so fresh that I couldn't believe that I was watching a movie that would go this far in terms of its violence and just be so absolutely bonkers with its characters and stuff. And I think that's part of like it being a manga adaptation, but with Miike's like sense of place and style, it really, despite all the Sam Raimi-esque gore stuff, it really does feel like he's just bringing those larger than life characters just like literally, because they're just in these real spaces doing crazy things.
Mm-hmm. And from what I read, Miike might have toned it down a little bit in some aspects, because the synopsis I read made it sound like the comic is much more focused on Ichi not being able to get one off.
What a shocker.
And considering that Miike's still focused on that a fair amount.
Yeah, he does a whole lot.
He loves his bodily fluids, doesn't he?
He does love his bodily fluids.
This didn't have as many as Dead or Alive, but still had enough.
I think there's a lot more of a certain bodily fluid in this one.
Yeah.
So much so that the title of the movie comes up through a puddle of some bodily fluids.
Did Dead or Alive have that? I don't remember.
No, it did not. It had the kiddie pool, which was a lot of bodily fluids, but
yeah, there's a different.
Dead or Alive does not touch on the sperm count in this movie.
Yeah.
It's that itself is a warning.
Yeah. But Miike's got a really good style, I found. Or he's good at his style of direction, which is it's similar, I guess, kind of to Kill List, but different at the same time. He's good at knowing exactly how long a shot needs to be.
Yeah, he that's what I feel like people, like you said, he is a much more talented Sam Raimi, but he is a master filmmaker, and he puts a lot of effort into his sort of exploitation and genre films. Because I think when I was rewatching it, it struck me how kind of like perfectly paced this movie is. Or something interesting is always going on, and the story's always moving forward. I feel like I didn't get that the first few times I've watched this movie several times. And I feel like, again, it's a rewarding experience, and it makes more sense every time I watch it. And I think I always catch something new or a plot point that I didn't realize what was going on when I watched it initially. And so it's a rewarding experience.
It doesn't have a super confusing through line either.
I think I found it super confusing when I initially watched it a while back because of the language barrier.
Mm-hmm. Although this movie doesn't care about language barriers. It's switching languages freely through the whole thing.
It does, which is an odd surprise when I first watched it.
Everyone just seems to know Mandarin. I assume it's Mandarin, Japanese, and English, and they'll respond in whatever language they feel like.
I think that also makes him a little bit like Sergio Leone. It's just like have everyone speak their own language and then either edit it in post or that just people just understand what they're saying to each other.
It's a neat thing. Although Miike does that in his Yakuza stuff, doesn't he? Because isn't one of his things, different cultures in the Japanese underworld? Because I know that was a thing for Dead or Alive. That was
Yeah,
the one
which
thing that was on the surface in Dead or Alive.
yeah, it was definitely the whole point of his one of his first, if not his first theatrical film, which was a Shinjuku Triad Society, where it was about I think a half Taiwanese, half Japanese cop, and that was his main anti-hero, and it was about sort of language barriers and culture barriers and n- not belonging somewhere, and touched upon his themes that he enjoys so much, and find more so in Ichi the Killer too, especially with people who feel like are don't belong and are just trying to find their place in the world, as disturbed as they are.
Mm-hmm. The only thing about this that I really have to say that's maybe negative is the CGI doesn't really hold up very well. It definitely
No, it
ages
does
it.
not. Yeah, the CGI is really bad.
That's kind of a thing even in newer Japanese splatter stuff, I think, though. I just think they don't, or even regular Japanese movies CGI. I think they're just not up to the level of like Hollywood or even American TV.
Yeah, and when you see CGI that bad, you kind of think it's done intentionally, you know what I mean? Like you want to give it a pass. You're like, they must have done that on purpose, right?
Mm-hmm. Although the one thing you can't fault Phoenix Wright for is that CGI courtroom is pretty good.
Is it well done in that?
Yeah, it's very sci-fi, high-tech thing. He found a good way to use the parlance of the games in movie form.
Yeah, I think I'm just glad that Mike is not a Robert Rodriguez. He's much much better than that.
You don't think Spy Kids is a masterpiece? That's Robert Rodriguez, right?
Yes, that is.
Okay. Okay, I wasn't sure for a second.
It's been a while since I've seen it. I was like 11 when I watched that. It's got a really good physical gag involving the lunchbox. So there's that.
Man, I don't even remember anything about Spy Kids. It had Antonio Banderas, didn't it? I think that's all I remember.
It did have Antonio Banderas.
And those movies were super popular in Mexico, weren't they? Didn't those basically bankroll his studio?
That doesn't surprise me. That makes sense. I mean, they're kids' movies, they're family movies. They could have been, yeah.
I recall my film teacher in high school saying that. Because he did Desperado too, right?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Which is an alright movie.
Yeah, it's fine. Because that's what we watched, and I think of his, and I think that's why the subject came up.
Bankrolled by Spy Kids. Spy Kids franchise.
I didn't watch any of the movies after the first one. For the what was the first one in the Once Upon a Time in Mexico series?
That was El Mariachi.
El Mariachi, that's the first one I saw. That's the only one I saw.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Desperado is just a remake of El Mariachi.
Oh, is it? Okay. I like it, but I like low budget stuff.
Super low budget stuff.
El Mariachi certainly is that.
Yeah, it is super low budget, but it's super charming. It's a good B, like VHS type action movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like you're watching somebody making an action movie in their backyard.
Yeah. I think that's it for Ichi the Killer, right? Do you have anything else to say about it?
I mean, if we're going to spoiler territory, like, what's the ending? You know what I mean? But that's Mike's thing. Like, how did you feel about the ending?
Well, from what I can tell, that's how it ended in the comics too.
Did it?
Mm-hmm.
I never even read up on that.
That Ichi just kind of stopped being able to be Ichi the Killer after he killed Kakihara.
Mm-hmm.
But what's his name? Ji-san got Takeshi's kid to basically perform a similar task.
Ah. But, so wait, who was hanging?
I don't know who that was. Was that Ji-san?
I was always under the impression that it was Ji-san.
That's who it looked like, but
yeah.
I mean, I guess it could have been, but I think the point was that Takeshi grew up, or Takshi's kid, the little kid grew up and is in the same kind of fucked up mindset that Jisun put Ichi in.
Okay. I think the go-to sort of easy popular interpretation was that the kid grew up and then killed Jisun, and
It could be.
that was his revenge, and maybe
It was
cycle of violence and whatnot.
Yeah, it was vague enough in the movie that could have been it, but I know from what I read of the comic that it's what I said it was. So it could be either way. I guess it.
Yeah.
Maybe Mike doing his own thing, but also maybe pleasing if they're fans of the comic. I don't know if there are. Maybe.
Right. Yeah, I mean this is also his thing, is not explaining things at all, and sort of like.
Yeah, you mean like the
things
fucking
ambiguous.
ending of Dead or Alive?
The best ending in the history of film.
The only good sequence in that movie.
That it has the dude's stomach exploding with the noodles, and then the long line of Coke. That the opening 10 minutes.
I do
and the
remember
last
the
10
long
minutes.
line of Coke.
Yeah. And that amazing song at the opening.
I don't remember
It's
that.
incredible.
I still think that movie's bad.
It was a rough step on the way to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's done, more like kind of subdued professional movies like 13 Assassins, which is a really
right. I've been meaning
awesome.
to watch that.
Yeah, it's a really awesome thriller, or like action. Just like, he just tried to make the most badass samurai movie he could, and that's what 13 Assassins is. And then I was fond of Sukiyaki Western Django.
I have not
which
seen
is
that
his.
either. I did not know that was his though.
It's his, and it's that's him having genre fun. It's exactly what you would expect it to be. It's not bad, kind of no surprises kind of thing, but it's solid. It's solid for what it is. It's kind of exactly what you'd expect from Mike.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, it's sort of like he's had his fun in action and genre fare, but I really feel like it's his early work that's sort of the most dark and disturbing, because this Ichi feels like the most the almost like the ultimate sadomasochism movie, and that's also because sadomasochism is part of the movie itself. It's characters are inflicting it on each other. It's talked about. Some characters, that's how they relate to each other. In the case of Ichi, that's the only way he seems like there's a very particular scene where it seems like that's the only way he understands the world and wants to give people pain because that's what he thinks they want. Yeah.
But yeah, that's Ichi the Killer. I enjoyed it. Enjoy doesn't feel like the right word, but it's the only one I can come up with.
Entertained by it?
Sure. It's hard. It's a difficult movie.
It is a very difficult
many ways.
movie.
Anyways, let's wrap this up. You heard all the social media stuff in the middle of the episode. So next week, I'll be talking about Tenebrae and Hellraiser with a guest from the podcast Art, I Swear, Vanessa Van Alstine. And I don't know anything about Giallo, so that'll be a fun time watching my first Italian horror movie thing.
It's a good thing to explore. They have amazing soundtracks. Their soundtracks are so good.
Yeah, and she seemed really excited to pair that with Hellraiser, so I'm curious to see where this goes.
I'm very excited for you.
Yeah, and our audience should be too. Be sure to tune in next week for that, and send in your messages if you have any. I'll read them out. But yeah, that's it. This has been week 1 of 2016's Horror Kiwi. I'm Mike.
I'm Rudy.
Thanks for listening, and as always, keep it spooky. It's spooky what I did. Keep it spooky.
Was it also Keep It Juicy?
It was keep it juicy.
Keep it spooky,
yeah,
juicy.
keep it juicing and spooking.